Hello Helix, and welcome to Eve Planetary Interaction Step 5, where we're going to do a quick recap and look at how you actually collect your materials from a planet. So let's dive in. We've got our character, she's now 3 days old. Moving on from step 4, we've put the 2 skills into interplanetary consolidation, which took just over 3 hours. Let's have a quick look at the wallet. Got a few more items in there. So we've got the addition of 500,000 ISK for the skill book. We've got 2 new command centres, and we've got 2 lots of tier 1 PI, which consists of your extraction unit, your storage facility, and basic industry unit. So let's have a look at our PI. So we set up originally with a barren planet. Let's have a quick look at that. So this is our barren. We were going for base metals and also noble metals. So let's have a look at our program. We are coming towards the end of our first run, which was set for 2 days. So when this is finished, we will switch over to noble metals and move our extraction heads from where they are over to here. And in our storage, we now have over 500 meters cubed of reactive metals, which is our tier 1 commodity. So let's look at what else we set up. Well, we know we needed a barren and a lava. So we set up a lava in the same system. Let's have a look at that. So here's our lava PI, which I've built. Works exactly the same way. We have our command center, we have our extraction unit feeding a storage facility feeding a basic industry, and then the materials going back into the storage facility. So we've got our raw materials of heavy metals, and that's going to generate toxic metals, which we've already got 270 M3. And we've set this planet up so that we can get both our heavy metals and non-CS crystals, and that will give us every commodity that we need to go all the way up to robotics, which is a tier 3. But we've set up 3 planets. So I did a little bit of thinking, and I went back to our original idea of trying to get all the commodities to make oxygen fuel box. So I broke down the tier 2s and the robotic tier 3 into its tier 1 commodities, which you can see down here. And everything with the asterisks we are already collecting from our lava and barren, which left us needing to collect noble gas to turn into oxygen, ionic solutions to turn into electrolytes, and aqueous liquids to turn into water. Aqueous liquids, excuse me. And using the show info screen, we've found what planets these are made on, and I can get all of the commodities from either a storm or a gas planet. So in Hail, the same system, the 3rd PI I set up is a gas planet. So let's have a quick look at that. Set up exactly the same way. We've got our command center, we've got our extraction unit, our storage facility, and our basic manufacturing unit. And I've set this up so that I can actually get noble gas here in the middle, ionic solutions, which I'm currently extracting, and aqueous liquids. So I'll actually be able to get all three materials that are left. So we will actually be able to have all of the materials needed from the PI side of things to make oxygen fuel blocks, which is pretty nice. And that's just with 3 planets. The only thing we can't do currently is manufacture tier 2 and tier 3, which we'll look at in the next video. But for now, I want to talk about how we actually extract our materials we've produced from the planet. So if we go back into our barren PI and look at our storage facility, we know we've got over 500 meters cubed. And if you remember from the earlier episodes, our command center can store 500 M3. So how do we get materials off a planet? If you go to your storage facility and click on the material that you want to take off the planet, and then go to expedite transfer and click on the structure which is going to do that for you, which in our case is the command center. This window appears. We can now move our reactive metals over to this middle box and click execute transfer. And that has now moved the materials from the storage into our command center. And then using the command center, we can click launch our reactive metals, add, and finally launch. And that's taken a little bit of ISK out of our wallet, which we could just about afford. And then materials are now floating in space. So, how do we collect them? If we escape out of our PI interface and undock, there's a nice, easy, simple trick we can do, which is now on our planetary industry menu, which you can get from the Neocom industry, planetary industry. You can now see there's 2 columns. There's a colonies and the launches. So because we've used the command center to launch, they appear in this launch tab. So we can simply right click and warp to launch or warp to location. If we were using a launch pad, which we'll be doing in later episodes, we could quite simply right click on the planet and go to customs office and then warp to. So let's collect our materials. These will show up as a loot box. There they are. So we can click on our box, we can open cargo, and we can move that into our planetary commodities hold on our epithel. And now you can see we've got our reactive metals. So we can dock back up, and then we can either take them to market or use them in another manufacturing process. However you want to utilise your PI commodities. And that wraps things up. So, to say we're 3 days old, we've got 3 planets. Oh, so we've actually got here a symbol telling us that one or more facilities requires attention. So while we're flying back to station, we can double click on our PI, and then our red circle is around our extraction unit, which is currently not active. But we've already extracted some electrolytes, so let's quickly look at what other material we needed. We need either oxygen or water. So let's try and get some oxygen from noble gas. So if we go to our extraction unit, install extraction program, we want noble gas. We will adjust our slide bar, our resolution, and I'm going to show you another little trick here. If we were to move our extraction heads down and put them right next to each other, as we did in the previous episode, this is not necessarily the most optimal way of doing it. So we're currently on a 12-hour cycle and it's producing close to 1500 units, 15,000 units, excuse me, which we know we only need 6,000. So let's increase our time, our duration. We can actually get to 3.5 days. Let's see if we can get to 4 days. So 4 days is 5,600 units, but we're overlapping. So if we move them apart, now it's 6,700, which is above our 6,000. However, if we play around with these heads and move them further apart, that number might increase. So let's have a look. We have a little play. 6,700. So in this case, that doesn't hold true. Our best is in the center. However, it can happen where you don't want your nodes right next to each other and you'll get a slightly better output. So just bear that in mind and have a little play with your nodes before you click on Start Extraction. And as always, we want to submit to save the settings. So we're now docked up and we've got our reactive metals which we could put into our hangar and use them at a later date. And with that, I'll see you all in fleet.